Welcome to the very first episode of the Indomitable Podcast. I'm your host, Dom, and if you're here, it's not by accident. You were led. And what I'm about to say, it's for you. This podcast is about performance, mindset, personal growth, and becoming the best version of you God created you to be. Time is not your friend. You've probably heard the phrase time is money, but that statement is a lie, and it's a lie that's costing people their purpose. I heard this from Myron Golden, so I can't take credit for it, but I will paraphrase. If I offered you $1 million right now, no strings attached, you take it, right? But if I said you could still have the million, but you die at midnight tonight, you would still take it? Of course not, because deep down you know their time is more valuable than money. But we don't live like that. We scroll, we binge, we procrastinate, we say we're waiting on God, when really we're wasting the most valuable thing we have. You don't have all the time in the world. And if you keep waiting on God without moving your feet, life is going to pass you by. Faith without work is dead. So I'll share a bit of my background. I grew up in a quote-unquote Christian family, and yes, I did say quote-unquote because we followed, but no one applied. That said, I was raised to believe that whatever you pray for, God will bring to you. From a young age, I would hear my mother say things like, I know my blessing is coming someday, or when you get yours, I want mine too, and on occasion, when I win this lottery. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in theory, but the impact it had on me as a young man was monumental. It made me believe that as long as I prayed, whatever I wanted would magically appear, and this bred mass confusion in me. I remember being behind on my rent, bills piled up, cars repossessed, lights shut off, and I would pray hard and nothing would change. Now, I was working, but I wouldn't pick up any extra shifts. I wouldn't hustle harder. I didn't take any actionable steps to improve my situation. I just kept praying. I thought that was faith. Praying and waiting for God to work a miracle. Now pause. Please don't get me wrong. God is sovereign and can do whatever he pleases. But I only knew half of the truth. I was working, but I wasn't aligning that work with faith and purpose. I wasn't stretching. I wasn't building, and I wasn't planting seed. I now know that what God had planned for me required more than a 9-to-5 grind. It required internal work, backed by spiritual discipline and faith that moved into action. When I would pray, God, please help me pay these bills, God wasn't waiting on me. God was waiting on me. So the turning point when I was about 33 years old, I had never made more than $35,000 a year. My wife was in school, we had 2 kids, and we desperately wanted to homeschool. But with one income, that wasn't a reality. And here's where I just need to be real with you. Lying for me came easy. I was so comfortable with it that if I told you that the sky were blue, you'd probably want to check to make sure that it wasn't raining. I was a compulsive liar, and I'm ashamed to say that I was good at it. I could make people believe someone that I was not. And I wanted to work from home to be close to my family, so I applied for an insurance job that required a college degree. I didn't just say I had one, I told them I had an MBA. I interviewed, got the job, and I stepped into a sales role, which generally in the past I struggled with. But this time I crushed it. I was top 1% out of 2,000 agents, and on paper I was winning. But inside, I was crumbling. About 6 months in, I remember sitting in my basement office completely frozen. I couldn't work. I didn't know what was wrong. Someone suggested me to the company's employee assistance hotline, and I called, reluctantly, and got connected with a therapist whose background was rooted in the church. She was the first one to make me pause and consider maybe all of the deals that I was closing, all of the pressure I was putting on people, maybe it was finally catching up with me. I didn't want to admit it, but I was disgusted with who I had become. Shame was creeping in, disappointment in myself was growing, and I felt like I was spiraling, but I couldn't see it clearly yet. I wasn't ready to face the truth. I was numb. I sat at my desk for hours, not moving, stuck in a silent battle between who I was and who I knew I was supposed to be. I kept telling myself I must be crazy because who walks away from a job paying more than they had ever made? Looking back, I can see God's thumbprint all over that moment. But at the time, I didn't feel his presence. I felt stuck. I didn't want to hear it, and I thought I loved my job. I had a whole plan mapped out, climb the ladder and retire comfortably. But once I got comfortable, everything got uncomfortable. I ended up making up a story to leave. I told her my grandmother was having health issues, when the truth was I couldn't bring myself to admit that I had felt like a fraud, lying to the company, to my customers, and to myself. I left in April and I took 3 months off. I wanted nothing to do with sales because I believed that all salespeople were dishonest and liars. But I only believed that because that's who I was. But I was done. And here's the crazy part. During those 3 months, I felt freer than I ever had. I was broke, but I was at peace. The problem was I didn't have savings, and I still was spending like I had a steady paycheck. That money disappeared fast. By August, I had applied everywhere I could. Between the 30 plus jobs I had previously worked and the places I couldn't pass a drug test, my options were limited. Then I remembered seeing a now hiring sign at Valvoline. I applied, and that's how I ended up making $15 an hour at 34 years old. So my mindset was, if I'm poor, I must be holy. I convinced myself that I was righteous for struggling. I was preparing to apply for Section 8. That's how deep I was in it. And then out of nowhere, I felt God say, read Job. So I did. Then I read Proverbs. Now, Proverbs hit me different. It lit a fire. Wisdom literature is straight up life instruction. Proverbs 14:23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And it hit me. God doesn't want me broke. He doesn't want me stuck. He wants me faithful and he wants me moving. I changed my prayer. God, send me somewhere I can take care of people the way you want me to and still provide for my family. And a job popped up and I remember something. While scrolling, I seen a video from a company and the owner was talking about dreams and vision and purpose and how they were building something bigger than just a steady employment. And they called it the Dream Program. That moment stuck with me, but back then I wasn't ready. I had always carried big dreams so bold they scared even me. But over the years, I started suppressing them. People told me that they were too lofty, too unrealistic. And somewhere along the way, I started to believe them. That's how I ended up settling at that insurance company, convincing myself that having just a steady income was enough. But when I started reading Proverbs, something reawakened. Those old dreams came back, more vivid than ever. I realized I'm not just anybody, I'm a child of God. And if I'm created in his image, then what's in me is built to overcome, built to rise, built to win. I remember praying that God would send me somewhere I could serve people and set up the next chapter in my life. Then this company showed up again. And this time I saw the Dream Program not as just coincidence, but as confirmation. I didn't hesitate because when God is sending you somewhere, it just feels right. There's no second guessing, no fear, no confusion, only clarity. And I knew in my spirit that was it. But now that seed was growing. So when the job showed up at my feet again, I didn't hesitate. I applied. I knew nothing about the company. I applied, recruiter called. I looked up the owner and he was talking about purpose and it clicked. I got the job. The first thing I asked about was that Dream Program. And they told me that it had been discontinued. But me, I still came in cocky, top 1% insurance guy, thought I was untouchable. In my first 5 months there, I struggled. I was ranked 232 out of 300 technicians. My bills were late. The landlord said 30 days or you're out. And I prayed again. God, if this is where I'm supposed to be, you need to show me. That same week, the company relaunched the Dream Program. They gave us new systems, new tracking, but more than anything, they gave me a window. And this time, I didn't just pray, I got to work. I worked, I applied everything into learning Proverbs, I moved with intention, and in 3 months, I went from 232 to number 1 in the company. So the real work, listen, I was a compulsive liar. I had covert narcissist tendencies, and I was prideful, broken. My wife once asked if she should go back to work because we were struggling so bad, and I told her no, not out of strength, but out of pride, because I couldn't face that I was failing, and I was praying, but not moving. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. They're saying things like, God works on his time. I'm just waiting on the Lord. And that sounds spiritual, but most times it's an excuse, a delay tactic wrapped in religion. If you're hungry, you don't just pray for food, you get up and walk to the kitchen. Faith was never meant to be passive. Faith pushes you into action. So here's my question to you, or my challenge to you rather. What have you been praying for, but not working towards? What purpose are you saying God will handle when really he's waiting on you to take the first step? Isaiah 40:31 says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. But wait doesn't mean sit still. It means prepare, train, move. Because when the rain comes, if you haven't planted anything, there's nothing to harvest. Stop waiting, start working. Your future self is already looking back at this moment, either grateful you moved or disappointed you didn't. This walk is step by step. It's slow sometimes, but what's waiting at the end of the tunnel, it is beyond worth it. So here's what I want you to do. Apply for the job, launch the business, have the conversation with God, ask for help if you need it, let go of pride, just move, because faith without work isn't faith at all. I hate to sound cliche, but if God did it to me, a lying, prideful, broken man headed for darkness, he can do it for you too. So thanks for sticking it out to the end. Real quick, I want to share my vision with you. This podcast isn't just about me talking. It's about growing in life and in performance and in mindset. And my purpose, my goal is to build a movement, a tribe of brothers and sisters who refuse to stay average. Indomitable means impossible to subdue or defeat. And the fact that you're still here means you're either living it or you're ready to. As a thank you, a free guide of 7 steps to overcome your mind. Click the link and grab it and officially join our community of Indominators. Until next time, keep growing, keep fighting, and stay indomitable.